The sirens echoed down the quiet street as Marcus stood by his old car, hands trembling slightly. He had just finished a long shift at the community center, still wearing his worn-out coat, when 2 police cars surrounded him. The officers laughed among themselves, assuming he was just another troublemaker. "What's in the bag, huh?" one of them smirked. Marcus tried to explain, but his words were cut off by the sound of handcuffs snapping shut. Passers-by stopped, whispering. Cameras recorded. To everyone, it looked like another sad headline waiting to happen. But what none of them knew was that Marcus wasn't just any man. He had spent years studying law, working silently behind the scenes to fight for justice. And the very next morning, the same officers who mocked him would find themselves speechless when he walked into the courtroom, not in handcuffs, but in the judge's robe. Marcus sat in the holding cell, calm but thoughtful. Around him, other detainees whispered stories of bad luck and unfair chances. The guard gave him curious looks, something about Marcus didn't fit. His voice was steady, his posture confident. He wasn't scared. He was studying. Every word the officer said, every detail of the arrest, he stored in memory. He knew this system inside out, and he also knew something they didn't: justice had a strange way of circling back. That night, as he rested his head against the wall, a quiet smile touched his face. Tomorrow, he would not just clear his name, he would remind everyone in that station that judgment doesn't belong to uniforms or badges, but to truth. Morning sunlight cut through the courtroom windows as the officers entered, laughing again about the guy from last night. Their laughter faded when the judge's door opened. Gasps rippled through the crowd. There stood Marcus, calm and dignified, wearing the black robe of authority. The same man they had arrested hours ago was now presiding over their hearing. The room froze in disbelief. Marcus looked at them, no anger, just quiet strength. "Before we begin," he said, his voice steady, "let's talk about justice." The silence that followed was heavier than any gavel. The officers lowered their heads, realizing that respect isn't granted by position, it's earned by actions. Marcus's story soon spread across town. Reporters gathered outside the courthouse, eager to learn more about the men who turned humiliation into honor. But Marcus refused interviews. He wasn't looking for fame. He had lived his life serving quietly, teaching kids about the law, helping families understand their rights, and guiding young men away from trouble. His mother's words echoed in his heart: "Son, when they don't see your worth, let your actions speak louder than their laughter." And he did. That moment in court wasn't revenge, it was revelation. A lesson that dignity cannot be taken by anyone, no matter how loud their laughter. Later that week, Marcus visited the same station where he'd been arrested. The officers greeted him nervously. But instead of anger, he extended his hand. "Let's build something better," he said. They were stunned. Marcus proposed workshops, training sessions on fairness, empathy, and community connection. It wasn't about punishment, it was about change. Slowly, the officers saw the power of understanding over judgment. Some even volunteered to help at the community center where Marcus once worked. In that moment, both sides learned that justice isn't about winning, it's about healing. Months passed, and the city began to change. The story of the judge who was arrested became a symbol of transformation. Schools invited Marcus to speak. Young people who once feared the police now joined programs to build trust. The officers who had mocked him became his strongest allies, admitting their mistakes and sharing his message of equality. Marcus watched it all quietly, knowing this was the true verdict he wanted: not applause, but awareness. Every step forward meant another heart opened. On a bright spring morning, Marcus returned to the same corner where it all began. The old car was gone, but the memories remained. Children played nearby, laughter filling the air. A young man approached and said, "Sir, you're the reason I'm studying law now." Marcus smiled, his heart full. Sometimes, life humbles you before it honors you. His arrest had once felt like the worst moment of his life, but it became the turning point for an entire community. As he looked toward the courthouse, sunlight glinting off its steps, Marcus whispered, "Justice doesn't wear a badge or a robe, it lives in the choices we make." And with that, he walked away, leaving behind not just a story, but a legacy.